our JavaScript study session. As usual, my name is Omolo Oganda. I'm a student ambassador at JQuat. I am a software engineer, and I love tech. I love JavaScript, and yeah, that's all about me. So as usual in my sessions, today we don't have slides. Of course, we have done our introduction in our last week's meeting. And what we're doing today, we don't have any theory to do here. All the theories we did last week on the introduction to JavaScript, what is JavaScript, history of JavaScript, JavaScript versions, and then how to run JavaScript and how to install JavaScript. And remember, just as a quick recap, we said that you need Node installed in your computer, and then the various ways of running JavaScript is either on the browser. And in the browser, we said in the console, browser console. And then we said you can also use NVM. That is Node Version Manager. Let me show you that real quick. You can use Node Version Manager to help you manage Node versions. Node versions. The reason why we said that we are using NVM or why it is important for you to use it is because if you are being onboarded on a project that was maybe done like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we were in Node version, I think Node version something like 15, right? And today, we are in Node version 21. So if you are being onboarded on a project that was done 3 years ago, Node 15, if in your computer you have Node 18, it won't work. You'll have a lot of breaking changes. And you having Node Version Manager, you'll be able to switch in between different versions of Node, and therefore you'll be able to run that code. And then remember also we talked about the versions of JavaScript. Versions where we had the latest one is ECMAScript, or what we call ES6 syntax. Fantastic. So this was more of what we call an introduction to our study jam. Now today, I want us to get a bit more practical and start making our hands dirty. And today, I have a number of things that we want us to discuss here in detail. And of course, if you have any question during my presentation, you can, I don't know, maybe I'll take breaks after every 10 minutes or 15 minutes to ask if there's a question, because I understand that some of us can have a question at the beginning and then they forget to ask it when the meeting ends. So after every 15 minutes, I'll be taking a pause. And if you have any question, you can ask up to where we are. All right, so let's look at the of today. Today, I want us to talk about a number of things. One, we'll talk about JavaScript variables. Number two, I want us to talk about what we call arrays and objects. Okay, after which, I want us to talk about constants, what we call constants. Let me zoom in my VS Code so that you can see clearly. I think that's now better. Okay. How to do that? You simply press Control and either a plus or a minus. Plus will zoom. Is it out or in? It will zoom in, yeah. Or make it larger, and a minus will zoom out or make it smaller. So once we've talked about constants, of course, what the constants we're talking about here is inbuilt constants. All right. From there on, we're going to talk about what we call some mathematics lib functions. That is under constants too, math lib functions, constants. From there, I want us to talk about what we call comments in JavaScript. From comments, then we're going to talk about what we call the console, okay? You know, we've been using the term console.log, but there's more to console, right? After console, we're going to talk, if time allows us, data types in JavaScript. Yep, after data types, we can touch a little on strings, and then maybe we can end what we call, maybe Q&A, any questions that you can have. Now, That is it for today. So we intend to cover JS variables, arrays and objects, constants, and then under constants, we have something we call mathematics library function constants. And then after this, we need to talk about comments. We need to talk about a console. We need to talk about data types in JavaScript. And under data types, we'll talk about strings, and then maybe just general questions and answer, and then we call it a day. Okay, fantastic. So let me pull my terminal up and then stop the current session and then clear the console. Remember last time I told you for us to run our JavaScript code, we need to type node. And then because we don't want to like keep on starting and restarting our JavaScript console, what we will do, we'll watch our changes in that file. And the file that we're running today, I created a file here called session2.js. So the file that we want to run today is session2.js. Fantastic. So with this, any change that you're going to make in our code here will be running here automatically, and we don't have to come back to the terminal every day, every time, trying to stop it and restart just for it to pick up our changes. Fantastic. So to the first agenda, variables. Now, variables, if something is variable, I want you to think of variables just as a data placeholder in JavaScript, something that varies. And this you can link it back to your mathematics where we have like a value of X assigned to something. And this value can be varying. So when we say, for example, an age of Omolo, right? Now think of age as a variable or something that will hold the data for the value of my age, okay? So for example, if I say age, that's equal to 12. What I'm trying to say here is whatever that we are referring to age, its value is 12, okay? Now, that is not how you actually work with variables in JavaScript. So JavaScript with variables, we have something that we call variable declaration and variable assignment, okay? Now, when you declare a variable, what does it mean? To declare, it simply means you have reserved a folder somewhere that will hold a value, right? Now, I'm going to use the common keyword for variables that we are all familiar with, that is const, okay? Now, if I say const age, now age is what we call the declaration. Now, I've declared a variable called age, okay? From this point onwards, if I refer to age, I'm referring to this container that I declared element number 21, okay? And then if I come here and say age equals to 12, what have I done? Let's first check. We are having something here, a problem. Syntax missing initializer in const. Okay, exactly. So age equals to 12. Now it means I've already declared a variable and I'm assigning it to age. But the most efficient way of doing this is to do the declaration and assignment in a single line. And then that is what we call a variable definition. So I'll come here and just delete this and say const age equals to 12. Okay, so what have I done? I've done a declaration, an assignment, and so I have a variable definition. What is declaration? Declaration is simply reserving this container here, age. As I've declared age to be a variable. Now, once I declare or preserve a container, that container, you can't have an empty container, or I mean, what is the essence of having a container if it has nothing inside? Now, what I'm putting inside that container is the number 12, okay? It's like I'm saying, form ones to go to block A. Now, block A is the container, and their assignment is form ones, okay? Now, in this case, we have a box called age. Inside that box, I'm storing the value 12. Fantastic. If I can say const town equals to Nairobi. Now I have a box called town, and in that town, I've assigned it Nairobi, which means the value of town from now henceforth will be Nairobi. The value of age from now henceforth will be 12. Now, this is the declaration and the assignment. Now, all of this thing that we've done here is called variable declaration. we've simply defined variables. Okay. Now, you wouldn't want to just declare or define variables and end up leaving them unused. So what are we going to do next? What we want to do next is to see how to use variables. Using variables. How do you use variables? Now, when using variables, let's say I want to print something like the age, okay? Let's talk of age. I will say, because we are in JavaScript, we can use the console to print whatever we want to print. How do I do that? I can say console.log, then I want to just log the age. Now let's see what happens. If you check on terminal, now we have the age to be 12, all right? Now, if I come at any point and change the value of age to 122, what happens in the terminal? 122. So how does it work? At any given point when the code is run, the age will refer to the most recent declaration of age. Okay. For example, if I come here down here and just say age equals to 132, that is wrong. Why? Because you already have age declared in line 21, 23. Okay. So you can't have it declared twice. Why? Because we have used a const. Okay. Suppose I use a let. What happens? Let allows me to reassign. Remember const, in other words, it means constant. Constant, think of it as pi. Pi is 3.142. The value of pi will never change. It will always remain to be 3.142, and therefore it's a constant. If I use the term let keyword, I'm like saying, for now, let it be 122, but that can change later. So in line number 21, we let the age to be 122. Then we think about it again, and we come and realize, okay, age has changed. The new age is 132, and that is what is printed on our console. Maybe someone comes from somewhere and says, no, guys, you are wrong. Our age is 14. Age equals to 14. And now what we have in the console is 14. Now, how does this work? Remember, code is executed from top to bottom, line by line, okay? Which means we come here, 21, 21, 22. Again, coming down line by line, it encounters another value of age, 132. So what it has in memory now is 132. Remember, the box is a single box, nothing changes. The box ni ile ile. But yesterday, it looked at 122. Today, it has changed to 132, but the box is the same. Again, coming tomorrow, you're being told the value of age has changed, it is 14. It will always store the most recent assignment to that container or that data holder. So the age is 14. That is how you use variables. Simply refer to the name or the storage location. What variables do, they go to a memory and they reserve a space and they give it a name like age. Now it tells your computer, okay, now in this memory location, name it age. And the value that you want to store in that memory location is 14. That is how you declare how the computer works internally with the variables. And then when now we come to console, now think of it like we now have the box. I want to console age. Now it tells the computer, go to the memory, locate a memory location that was named age, and retrieve the value that was stored inside there. So that is what we call using a variable. You simply use its name to get its value, okay? So we have what we call age there. I can do this the same with the town. Console.log, and then it's what we call town. So our town is Nairobi, okay? And the same thing can happen. Someone comes and says, okay, you know what? Since the famous person in this town is called, let's say, Jomo Kenyatta, so we can do, let's reassign. But to reassign, we have to make it a variable using a let, town equals Nairobi, which means we can come down here now, say, our new town name is Tom Mboya Street. Okay. Now, what it will print is the Tom Mboya Street because that is the most recent value stored inside the town container. Up to that point, is everything clear? if everything is clear, just react in our chat so that I can know that we are together at that point. You just do a thumbs up or a love emoji so that I can know we are moving same. Fantastic. Now, moving on, we want to now look at something else. And what is that? We want to look at types of variables, okay? Types of variables. So types of variables here, how we do that? Give me a minute, I'll just open another window here. I want to close it. That was a mistake. It will make my computer to start hanging for no reason. Fantastic. So the next thing we are going to look here is types of variables or variable types. Types of variables. Now, remember a variable is just a named space somewhere or a named section in a memory, but we have different types. For example, if you check here, age stores something like a number, right? Even if I hover here, you can see it stores something like a number. If I come to like town, if I hover there, it stores something we call a string. Now that's those are types of data that we have. Now you can store different things. For example, you can store a long integer. A long integer or just an integer. Let's start with integer. Integer can be any number, 12. Sorry, any number, let's say 12, 121, 58, negative 45, or anything. What we have next, we have long integer. These are those extra big values that are so long, okay? Now, those we call long integers. But you don't have to worry about this because there's no point in time where you will ever, you'll really use what we call long integer, and you don't need to care about integer. This is just for you to give you some context about the types of variables that you can have. And then we have floats. Floats, they just have a decimal point or a fraction bit. We have double. Now, double is more of a long int, but now it has a fraction bit. Could be something like that, then 0.78. Then we have what we call a boolean. I don't know how you guys pronounce it. We have boolean or boolean, how you pronounce it, but one thing makes me happy, our spelling is the same. So will it be true or false? What else do we have? We have something called not a number. Not a number, which means it's not a number. Anything that's not a number, let's say my name, Omolo, that's not a number. What else can we have as variable types not defined? Like you say let age. I mean, it's just there. We haven't defined it. We've just declared, but we haven't defined. Well, it's what we call like assignment. So that is a type of a variable. Okay. Now, also, apart from that types of variables, we can also have other types of variables, which we call objects and arrays. Now let's start with arrays. When I come here and say let fruits equals to open the square brackets, and then I talk of banana, comma, I talk of pineapple, comma, I talk of passion, comma, I talk of what else? We love guava, right? Yeah, that is it. All I can come and let's say let ages equals to 45, we have 12, we have 56, we have 32, we have maybe 78. Now, what we have here is what we call variables. No, not variables, but arrays. Arrays are, think of them as a stored collection of data types, okay? Like it's a single variable, but inside that variable, it stores different values, more than one value. That's an array. So that is what we call an arrays, okay? Like everything here is a fruit, but then under the fruit, in that box called fruit, we have different types of fruits. We have banana inside there. We have pineapple. We have passion. We have guava. And then we have edges. We have a container named edges containing the edges of our attendees, 45, 12, 56, 32, 78. But then we can also have a random array. A random array is a container that contains different types of values. Let's call it random array. Sorry, wow, what's happening here? Okay, random array. Random array, now it will contain a mix of different data types. One, banana. Banana, another age of 12. Inside that array, we have another array, let's say 45. Also, we have omolo, you know. We have another string there, let's call it Leslie, you know. So an array has contained like random values. Like an array inside, we have a string inside this array, we have a number, we have an array inside an array, and we have another string. So that's called a random array. Up to this point, I just want you to just know only that, all about arrays. Don't go ahead, just rest it there. From arrays, let's talk about objects. Objects. So under objects, let's give an example. What can I use as an example? Let me use an example, me as an example. So let MLSA, or let me call identity, let identity equals to omolo. Then let age equals to 24. Remember, we already add age somewhere, so we need to give it another years. Let's call it years 24. Let position equals to beta. Beta, of course, beta is a string. We need to encapsulate it in strings. Then let's call another thing. No, let's call another property about me. Let language equals to JavaScript. And then salutation, let salutation equals to JS priest. Fantastic. Now, there's one thing common with everything that I've put in here. All these let, they are all describing one person, and that person is Omolo, right? Now imagine I want to describe someone like Leslie. I'll come down here again and do the same thing, Control C, Control V, and I say, maybe identity Leslie there, the years there, position there, language there. And if I want to access them, I will have to go every time I have to tell like years is that. There's a more neat way of doing this because I'm an object. Think of me as the object that is being described here. How can we do that? We can do that this way. Let person to be an object, okay? Now inside this object, now an object will take key value pairs. The key is the variable name of the property name, and the value is the assignment to that variable, okay? Now you will see how we'll move all this into one object here. How? Identity, Leslie. Years, Leslie is young, let's say 25. Position, alpha. Well, of course, alpha is a string. You need to do what? Enclose it in quotations. And then we have language. For Leslie, TypeScript. And lastly, salutation for Leslie is TS priest. Fantastic. So in short, I'll clear all that we have here. And now, what do we have? We have an object describing who Leslie is. Okay, that is how we can organize all those many variables into what we call an object. Now, this object, think of it as a person. This person has properties. What are the properties? Identity, years, position, language, and salutation. And what are the values of these properties? Leslie, 25, alpha, TypeScript, and TS Priest. So think of objects as just a way of neatly organizing some data about a specific entity. In this case, a person. And this person is what we are referring to is Leslie. Up to that point, I want you not to go ahead. What we're doing here is giving you an overview of what to expect, or just a tip of what objects are. Rest it up to there. Don't go ahead. We'll go deep into objects, their methods, manipulation, and all that, right? Remember here, we're still talking about variables. Fantastic. Now, we've talked about arrays. I want you to note the difference here. Arrays, we use square brackets, okay? And then for objects, we use what we call curly brackets. From this point onwards, I want us to now talk about constants. Remember, we have variables and constants. Constants, you can't change the value, okay? And then at constants, we have what we call internal constants. Before I move into constants, any question about objects and arrays, just up to what I've discussed, Any question? There being another question, let's move to internal constants. Internal constants, these are constants that are inbuilt in JavaScript language, okay? Now let's type that. Inbuilt constants. So think things like null, undefined, infinity, negative infinity, not a number. What else do we have as a constant? What else do you have as a constant? Can you hear me? Anybody? Can you hear me? I think I lost you guys.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Do you have a question? Okay, thank you for confirmation. So let's move ahead. So we have not a number. And then what else can we talk about again? What else? I think we can start with this. So when we talk about constants, remember when we declared a variable, we can either declare, then we assign. And so we have a constant variable. So let's talk about the constants. Now, starting with the null. Null is very straightforward. What does null mean? Null means it doesn't exist. Haiko, like it's not there. Null, it's not there. So when we talk about null, it's like, I think we can say something like, let position equals to null. That's very correct. Which means we are actually reserving a container somewhere called position, but what's the value of that container? What does it contain? Nothing, null, okay? Then we have what we call undefined. What you can see here, undefined. So let's say, let's count. Just that, let's count. So count is undefined. Why? We have reserved a container called count, but we are not giving it any value. Well, it expects a value. So null doesn't expect, like, it will tell you, okay, I'm good the way I am, with or without. So null won't give you any error. Count, let's count. Count now expects something because you haven't explicitly told it to be null. It expects, like, okay, I know my box here, but I'm expecting anytime from now, I should be given a value. If they don't give me a value, I remain undefined. So I want us to do something. How can we do that? Just console log and check on the type of count. What do we have? Actually, to show you the logs correctly, let me do this. Cut Control X. Then the data type of count is, then console.log type of count. So what do you see here? When we try to find the data type of count, we get null. Okay, now its type is undefined. I mean undefined, not null, undefined, because we have actually reserved a memory and we haven't told it to be null, which means it's expecting a value, and that value you haven't provided, so it is undefined. Can we do the same for position? Control C, and then in this case, what we're trying to find is the data type of position. So here we have position, and then of position object. You see what happens? The data type of count is undefined. The data type of position is, wait a minute, there's something we need to see here. Count is undefined, then position is what? Undefined also. It's null, okay? But what happens is that behind the scenes, it's an object of type null. You see what you see here? First, it console logs the undefined, then comes and prints the type of, which is undefined. Coming down, it encounters 70. 70, it says let's count, and then it's therefore an object. Now, that is more about what we call null and undefined. So let's do a comparison, a small comparison. Null, let's say console log dot log null equals to undefined. Let me delete these logs here. In this line number 73, what we are doing, we're trying to do a comparison to see if null can be equivalent to count. And what do we get? True. Can anyone explain why we are getting true? Just a trial, just a trial. Why are we getting true? Anyone? Anyone with a trial, just try. Why is it that if we say null equals to undefined, we get true? Anybody? Someone? Nobody. Okay, fantastic. So let me explain. Why are we getting null comparison to undefined being true? It's because null has no value, undefined has no value. But then we have something called strict comparison, which also checks for the data types. Okay. In that case, what you want to do, console.log, and what do you want to log here? Null, strict comparison, undefined. What do we get? A false. I remember last meeting, Leslie asked the question, why, what was the question? Leslie asked, why is JavaScript a funny language? You see what happens here? In just a normal comparison, checking for equality, it's very okay. Like null is same as undefined, and it returns a true. But now if you go to strict, remember strict comparison uses 3 equal signs, and it also checks for the value at the data type. In this case, let me explain what happens with this. When it checks the value, their value are same, but it checks the types are not the same, and therefore it will result to false. Okay, But remember, just the equality comparison only checks for values. So this one here only checks for what? For values. It comes and says, value is all I need. Same, and therefore it will return a true. But in a case where we are doing a state comparison, we are going to compare both the values and the data types. If types are same and values are same, well and good, it will give us a true. If either is false, it will be false. Remember the and the or things. So that is it about the constants. And then let's go to something else, another constant. Remember, this was the first constant, null. And we've also talked about undefined. So the difference between null and undefined, null is literally no value. It expects nothing. We actually telling it, this is nothing. There's nothing there. Undefined is a case where you just preserve a memory, but you haven't actually assigned a value to that memory. So that is all about what we call null and undefined. So we can go to infinity. So infinity, under infinity, we come across something what we call a division by zero. Any number divided by zero, what is the answer? If I take 1 divided by 0, what do we get? Don't think in JavaScript terms, just think about it as you'll have answered. Any number divided by 0, what will you get? So let's do that. We just do it in our code here. So at this point, we're talking about infinity. So infinity is the value that you'll get when you take any number divided by 0. Remember, it will go there many times, and it will not end, okay? So let's try and do a console.log 1 divided by 0. What do we get? Infinity, right? So that is also a data type, a constant in JavaScript, infinity. Infinity. So think and have that at the, how do you call it, at the tip of your fingers, infinity, or at the back of your mind. And then we have something else that we call negative infinity. So here we're talking about infinity. And now we have what we call a negative infinity. Infinity. So if infinity is dividing a number by 0, negative infinity will be what? Dividing any number by a negative of 0. So what do we do? Console.log 12 divided by negative 0. What do we get? We get what we call a negative infinity. I mean, it will always be negative. It will go inside 12 a negative number of times that won't end. And that's why we have a negative infinity. Fantastic. Going ahead, I want us to talk about how we can verify something. Remember, I also talked about not a number. Not a number. So it's time for not a number. So coming down here, let's talk about not a number. At this point, anything that's not a number, let's talk of 12. Let's talk of 12 is a number, 13 is a number, 12.5 is a number. If we talk of something like hello, hello is not a number. If we talk of what else? If we talk of hey, hey is not a number. So let's do something. I want to say, let num1 equals to 12. Let num2 equals to 12. Or hey. And then what I want to do is let sum equals to num1 plus num2. Num2. Wait a minute, num2. Then I want to do log of sum. So it's 12 hey. Okay. Now 12 hey. Now we have a number here. We have 12 and hey. This comes to our second point of JavaScript. JavaScript is a funny language. So when you give JavaScript a number and a string, what does it do? It concatenates. Concatenation means it will treat 12 as a string. Okay. So it takes 12 and then adds hey. So we have 12 hey. Something if I do like a space here and say a space hey, you see, hey, 12 hey. Or we can just reverse here and to make it make more sense. Num2, and then here we have num1. What do we have? Hey, 12. So I will have that there. So that is how it is funny. If you take a string, add it to a number, it concatenates. But let's do something else. Let's take and do what we call a subtraction. Let difference equals to num1 minus num2. Then let's log the diff console.log the difference. Not a number. Fantastic. This is what we wanted, not a number. That is why JavaScript is funny. I mean, why couldn't it just tell us it's now 12 minus hey? If we add, we get hey 12. If we subtract, what do we get? Not a number. So NaN simply means not a number. Okay, let's do a product. Let prod equals to num1 times num2. And then we want to log that. How do we do that? Log the prod. Let's see what we are getting. Not a number. You can't multiply a string and a number. So that is what not a number does. Like if any operation that won't work out, like trying to divide, taking like a number, divide by a string, what do you get? Not a number. That is another constant in JavaScript, not a number. Okay. So up to that point, do we have any question, please? Any question up to that point? Because we are moving to a totally different topic. Yeah, so that is what we do. Any question up to that point? Any question? Any question at that point? That being the question, we are moving ahead to our next agenda of the day. Our next agenda is to talk about what we call comments. What we're doing today is what will bring you up really quick to what will follow, because these are the basics that you need to be a good JavaScripter. So let's talk about comments. What are the comments? For example, you see right here, I have some sections of the code where I have // some I have a /* and other stars in between. Some same to this. Yeah. So let's talk about comments. Comments. What are comments? Comments are used to make comments. Simple. I mean, just comment. We want to make a comment about a section of our code. I use comments. Now, how do I use comments? For example, I want to tell you what sum does. So I'll come on top here and say, this will add the value of num1 to num2. Okay, so from this you already know that line number 96 is simply an addition between num1 and num2. So this will help someone who will be looking at your code or just a contributor. They know what this line does, or if it's a function, they now have a point or a hint what to expect that this function will do. And then going ahead, now this is a comment. Now we have single line comments, we have multi-line comments, and then we have what we call documentation comments. So there are type of three. Let's mention them here. We have single line comments, single line comments. We have multi-line, sorry, we have multi-line comments, how do you write multi? Okay, multi-line comments. And then we have documentation. Single line comments, I've already explained what it does. It simply adds a comment to one line, okay? But at some point, you might want to add comments that span a number of lines. For example, if I come here and just type enter, this is not a comment anymore, but I can have a scenario where I'm using multi-line comments. So let's talk about multi-line comments. Multi-line comments is, how do you do that? A forward slash, a star, and a forward slash. That is what you need, multi-line comments. So I can come here and say, hello everyone, my name is Molo, I am an ambassador. Okay, that's a multi-line comment. You see, it spans across different lines, but it's not being executed. Our compiler ignores comments. Okay, then lastly, we have a documentation. A documentation is more of writing into details about your project or your code. And you can do this just in your code files. So how you do this is having a forward slash, a star, and a star, then enter. So let's call this JS session 2. Then another thing I want to document, the entry file is the main.js file. To run it, ensure you install Node in your computer. After installing, ensure, okay, it is added to your environment path. Fantastic. So this is like detailed, more of like I'm getting more deep into like my code base. I'm trying to give you a step-by-step, more detailed information about this code. So that is more of comments. So if you want something that will not be executed by the compiler and will be ignored, use comments. You can choose to use this documentation, which is rarely being used. You can choose to use single line comments like this one here, and then you can choose to use multi-line comments like this one here. Another scenario where you want to use comments is, for example, I'm trying to test a feature in my code and I don't want it to run. So temporarily, I will just come and comment that, so it will be ignored. And once I'm done commenting, I'll just uncomment
Just a minute. I think Mr. Osegwa has some bit of issue. We'll right back.
Hello, Cliff. You might be muted or something.
Hello, Kelvin. He has texted in the group. He said something is up. He'll be back.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, can someone hear me? Hello, can someone hear me?
Yeah.
I've had a small issue with my internet, but I'm back. I hope this will be okay. So let's continue from where we left. Thank you for understanding. I don't know, someone please remind me, where did you guys lost me so that I can take it from there? Why did you guys lost me, kindly?
JavaScript comments.
Oh, comments,
The
okay.
documentation comments. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So let's continue from there. Sorry, guys, and thank you for understanding. That was unseen. Amazing. So let me share my screen and confirm to me if you can see my screen once more. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, thank you. Now let's continue from where we left. I'm not sure whether I left you on the use cases of comments. And I was talking about another way of using a comment is when now you want to, let's say, you have something in mind that you want to implement, but you're not implementing it now. So you just come somewhere at that point where it should be implemented and say, this one is a to-do, like make the code more efficient by refactoring, okay? At some point, you will come here and say, maybe a code was not working. Call it a fix. Please fix the random value. Then truncate it to a more desirable number. So those are more like the use cases of what you call comments and documentations. So about comments and documentations, it's straightforward. What is the use of a comment? To comment, to document, to remind yourself like, I need to do something else. I need to fix, okay? That is more of comments. After comments, we want to talk about console. Now console, let's talk about console. Console, coming down here, console. Console is a JavaScript inbuilt constructor or class. So what we have been using up to now, it's console.log. But do you know we have console.info, console.1, console.error, console.time, console.directory. So first thing let us do here is to do console.directory. So what I'll do here, I'll do console.dir. Then I want to console log the all console class. Now, look at my terminal. Look at my terminal. What do we have? The console is an object with the following properties: log, one, directory, time, time end, time log, trace, assert, clear, count, group, group end, table, debug, info, error, group console, profile, profile timestamp, context. Okay, so you can take your time, go to console or the MDN docs and look at all that you can do with the console. But I want to give you just as another scenario using a console. If I have like a function or just a code, I want to track the time that has been spent, like the time it takes my computer or my memory processor to run this code. I want to give you something interesting that can help you find out the time it takes for that code to run using console actually. So let's do something here. Let's have a function sum. Then we have A, B. Then what do? We can say, what can we say? How do you find sum? Or let's say add. That's the name of our function. And then you can say, let's sum equals to A plus B, okay? And then we want to like maybe log the value of sum and then return sum itself. Now remember, this is just a function definition and I mean function definition, like it defines all the steps that will be run for this function to run as a whole. And then we need to like invoke the function for it to run. How do we do that? Simply call the function and give it the arguments. In this case, I just want us to do 5 and 7. So this will print 12, remember, because what are we doing? We are console logging the sum, which is A plus B, and our A in this case is 5, our B is 7, and therefore 5 plus 7 is 12. Great. What if I want to know the time it takes to run this function? I can come here, and then I want to just type console.time, and then give it a name, response time. And then after here also, I want to give it something like console.time end. And you give it the same argument that you have here, that is called response time, Control C, Control V. What do you see? Our response time for this function is 0.121 milliseconds. It means it takes our processor 0.01 milliseconds to execute this function. So there is more to console, not just console log. If you will be working on industry scale application, you need to log anything happening in your project. And in that point, you will need some levels of logging. You need to log errors, you need to log debug, you need to log information, you need to log warnings, you know. And in that case, you won't be using logs only. You'll be using things like console warning, console information, console error, console trace, you know. So there is more to consoles. Okay. Now that is more about console. For console, I won't delve much into it. You'll take your time and look at consoles. And then now, finally, for today, I want us to briefly mention data types. Okay. Data types. So data types, we have numbers. Let's use a documentation to make things easier. We have numbers. We have what we call a string. We have what we call objects. We have Boolean. We have functions. We have undefined. And then we have what else? What else? I think these are the most common ones. So data types for anything, for example, here, when we declare something like a variable, when you say let 12, that's like a data type. When you say hey, that's a data type. So what we can do here really quick, let number equals to 12. Let's string equals to hey omolo. What else? Let bool equals to true. Oh, so we don't need the comma here. Let bool equals to true. What else? We have an error. True is not defined. It's as true with the small caps. Fantastic. What else do we need? Maybe a function. Let's say function reduce. Then a function takes some arguments. Okay. So we want to just do some logging for it to tell us the data types of the following here. So how do we do that? We use the log, and to check the type of what you have of a variable, use type of. So type of number, what do we get? A number. Okay, let's copy and paste. Type of string, what do we get? It's a string. Type of bool, what do we get? It's a boolean. Type of reduce, what do we get? It's a function. Maybe you can also do something like the arrays that we had here. We had an array up here. What array did we have? Fruits, and then you can also do person. Okay, so let's do that to check the data types. Control C, Control V, sorry, Control V. Type of fruits it's an object. Now remember, JavaScript treats arrays as objects. Then also we have type of person. What do we get? Also, it's an object. So if you want to like check the type of any data type in JavaScript, you need just to use type of. So type of will basically give you the data type where it belongs. So that is it for our session for today. And you can see like we're moving very fast. We are getting to speed. So what we'll be doing next in our second session, we're going to start looking at these data types one by one, numbers and their operations, strings and their methods, booleans, their methods, what we call objects and their manipulation methods, arrays and their methods, objects and their methods. So that is what will come in our next session. We'll talk about dates, how to work with dates. We'll move into conditions, then now work on arrays and objects, deep, very deep. If time allows us, next time we'll also look into what we call loops and functions. So up to that point, any question from anyone up to that point? Any question from anyone? Anyone with a question? So that we can call it a day. Okay, I see we have. Oh, okay, let me check the chats. There's something in the chats. Okay, so Trufena is asking, is using a semicolon at the end of a statement optional in JavaScript? Correct. So in JavaScript, using a semicolon is very optional. Yeah, that's the beauty of JavaScript. It's optional. What is the difference between a var and let keyword? A var and let keyword. Okay, as per what I know, var is being deprecated, like it's no longer being used. Because when you talk about variable is just like We could even call a constant a variable, okay? But when we say let is kind of, it gives it a meaning that this is a variable, it will change, okay? And more of scope. Driller, I can give Driller this opportunity to explain this. Driller, please unmute and explain the difference between var and let. Fantastic.
Nasikika.
Yeah, you are loud and clear. Driller?
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, I was saying when you use
Yes.
var,
Yes.
if you create var, for example, in a loop, you say var I inside a loop.
Okay.
The same variable will be accessible outside that function, but in computer science, when you declare a variable within a function, it should only, or within a block, it should only be accessible within that block. So when you use let, it cannot be accessed. You cannot print the value outside the loop if you have declared it inside that block.
Okay. Let me see if you can do an example here. Let's do an example using var and let. Let's do a quick example using var and let to explain that better. Okay, let's do that. Let me go back to my VS Code. Yeah, we are here. So let's say inside a loop. Driller talk now. For, let's use a good example is for, or a function. So here we have function add equals to add, which takes parameters a and b. Then we have used a let sum equals to a plus b, and we're saying to log the sum. So from what Driller said is that when we use a var inside a function, it can be accessed outside this function block. Is that correct? Driller, confirm that. And then if you use a var, let's just do something here. Var addition equals to a plus b. Then what I want to do, I want to come outside here and let me also console log the addition. Log addition. Fantastic. Also coming down here, let me comment out what we have here, the consoles, to give us room down here. Fantastic. Coming back here, I want also to comment out anything that will give us a log. Okay, I think with that we are good. Now let me pick up everything from here and take it to the last thing down there. Control X, so that we can have everything being printed as the last thing. Control S. Amazing. So we have a let of sum here, and then we have a var of addition. So we want to try out console.log. What do you want to log? Let's start with the let sum. Before that, let me first take all the sums. Control F, find all the sums that we have here that are coming before. Fantastic. This will be done away with. Amazing. So let's check the error. Sum is not defined. That is when we use the let. Now let's do something else. Instead of sum, let's do addition. Var addition. Okay. Then console log addition. Yeah. What do we still get? Sum is not defined. I think I've removed the sum. Okay. Let's look for more sums that we have. This is not the sum. I'll stop completely my terminal, clear up. Then run J2 again. It still says sum is not defined on line number 100, column 13. 100, column 13. Oh, fantastic. Let's get rid of that. Fantastic. So we are rid of that. So coming here, console log addition. Addition is not defined. Okay. So the difference between what we call the var and let is a scope. When we talk of scope, we can talk of where we have those variables in between a block or inside a function. Then we have var. Okay, I haven't dug deep into the var and let, but from what I know, var is being replicated, but it's something to do with the scope. So this is something that I need to look into deeply. Then in our next session, that will be the first point of discussion. Variable scopes, scoping, or what we call scoping. So scoping is more of the visibility of a variable inside your code. Like it depends. You can have something global that can be used inside a globally or outside a function or anywhere. And then we have those that are scoped within a function and those scoped inside a class or anything. So it all depends. So Trofena, I'll take on that, Van let into details, and we'll get to discuss that the first thing in our next meeting. Yes. Any other question? When do you use const? Use const when you don't intend to do what? To change the value, something that is constant. If you know the value shouldn't change, use a const. That will stop it from being changed to another value and will prevent a lot of errors. If you use what we call let, it gives you the flexibility of reassigning the value to something else. Yeah. Keep Korir. Keep Korir, your hand was up. Trofena,
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Keep Korir, please.
Mine wasn't really a question, just to supplement what you had said. There's some Git and GitHub modules about Microsoft that I think it's also essential for people who want to upskill. And I've sent just 2 samples in the link.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can choose your interested track. Then, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. So like, yeah, let's say some modules about Microsoft, which you can learn at your own pace. Actually, they're text-based. So if you're someone who prefers like reading texts compared to like watching a video, this is the right place for you. You can use these links to learn for free. You can track your progress, and also you get badges. You get badges that showcase what you've learned. So thank you, Leslie, for that. And then Trofena, your hand is still up. Any question that you have, feel free.
No, I'm okay.
Oh, you're okay. Any other question or any comment now? If there's no question, any comment? Just comment anything. Like if you want to talk about something, maybe I'm moving too fast. I need to like next time go slow, or I'm too slow. Next time I should go fast. Yeah, I mean, it's free. Just talk about it. I want us to all feel comfortable when we are here. Anyone with a comment? Okay, so it seems everyone's okay. And there being no any other question, the recording as usual will be ready within an hour. Once it's ready, I will post it for those who would love to check it again. Also, if you had missed our previous meeting, that is on Saturday, we have the recording with us. I'll share everything on you can check it out. And then remember, our next session is on Saturday, the same time, from 8 to 9:30. I'm scheduling the meeting right away after this meeting. So RSVP, just to ensure that you register as early as possible. Also, next time we have, what do we call it? You know what we're discussing next time. And as you can see in my sessions, we don't do theories. We talk more about practical things. So we want to move so fast because we want to get to frameworks, the interesting bit. We start building projects, okay? So ensure next time, come on time, we start, we finish earlier. So Kelvin Sikamoi has commented, nice session. Thank you so much, Kelvin. And yeah, that's it. In the group, you can ask any question, you can connect, share your GitHub links, share your LinkedIn profiles. If you have a project you're working on, you need collaborators, share there. There are people who are interested into working together. That's the essence of our community. So that's it. If there is no, oh, a reminder, on Tuesday, we have another session, Azure. By the way, if you learn JavaScript, you'll want to know about Azure. So on Tuesday, we have a session. Kindly, if you're interested in joining our session for Tuesday about cloud computing, please join. Remember, we had Kelvin Sekamoi here, who is a systems engineer, also a cloud architect. Come and get to learn about cloud. Nowadays, if you don't know cloud, there's a stack missing in what you already know. You need to know something about cloud. So on Tuesday, also from the same time, 8 to 9, we have a cloud session. I would love to see us coming all in that session and learning something about the cloud. There being any other business or question or concern, I think our meeting ends here. Thank you, Trofena. And see you guys on Tuesday. See you guys on Saturday next week. Enjoy your weekend. Time to go. If you are a party person, time to now get out and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you, guys. We can live at our own pleasure. And by the way, some of us got LinkedIn vouchers. Congratulations to those who won. Also, this session, there's someone who asked a question. Who was it? Yeah, Trofenas asked a question, and then the other guy who answered the question was Drizzler. So please, guys, DM me after the meeting for your vouchers. So once they're released, you get your vouchers. So thank you all. Trofena and Drizzler, do DM me after the meeting so that I can note you down. You'll have your vouchers once they are ready. Thank you, guys. The recording will be ready. Bye.